Star Wars Imperial Troop Transporter. Stormtrooper sold separately. New from Kenner.
Okay. We have the speaker cone. We have the motor. I think I can lift this off. And we have a number of little wires and switches that are supposed to make contact to make all this possible. As you can see, this is not your average set of Star Wars Kenner electronics. This is extremely complex, and now I've got to figure out why it's not working, how to test it, and how to get it all back together. Alright, we're going to shut the camera off so I can take another break. So last night I ran into an impasse and I thought I'd give myself a few hours to figure it out, wake up fresh and start over. I had some very helpful advice from a friend of ours, Mark Huber, on the Facebook page, the RetroBlasting Facebook page. And if you haven't been on the RetroBlasting Facebook page, I'd encourage you to hang out there because you get up-to-date news on our latest video progress, things that are going on. We post there all the time and it's a great community. But Mark was able to help me walk through how to set up a test battery for this particular vehicle, since it uses a switch mechanism with a speed adjustment rather than just simply pushing the button and hearing a noise. So Mark told me to take the switch plate, which as you saw came out of the vehicle, hook it back up to the wiring, and then hook the battery up so that we can test it without it being in the vehicle. Now the second thing I did, Mark wanted me to, I took this piece off last night, as you saw, and I couldn't get to the motor. And I thought, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to hand spin this motor to get it going again. Mark suggested that I take this side off, but he warned me that when I took this side off, the rubber band that runs around the motor spindle and then spins the record player was going to pop out and I'd have to reset it. Because this Imperial Troop Transporter is so minty, I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to find a way to keep the original band setting in place. So what I decided to do, since the short end of the spindle is visible through the housing on the top side, I took a pencil eraser, just your standard pencil eraser, and I put it over the spindle, pressed, rather hard. I held it in my hand so that it didn't put pressure on these buttons. And I pressed it pretty hard and I twisted it a few times. And with the battery in place, that was enough to get it going without me having to disassemble this side, because I didn't want to put any additional strain on a 40-year-old rubber band in there. I didn't want to have to reset the band, causing it to possibly snap, which would put us in an even worse situation. So this has remained intact. I have not removed this at all. And instead, I just twisted the spindle from the top with a pencil eraser. I also took the pencil eraser to the contacts of the battery compartment and just cleaned those off a little bit with a pencil eraser. They look pretty clean, but it's always good to use a pencil eraser just to get off some minor oxidation that might have accumulated over the decades. So I did that as well. So check it out. Now we have our test battery hooked up. Gonna push a button here. Well, make sure you're laying it flat. You want that record to be flat. It's supposed to have a specific sound per button, so that's supposed to be R2-D2, C-3PO, a stormtrooper, a stun sound, a blaster shot, and then sort of a flyby of an Imperial ship. It's not a perfect system, and so sometimes the buttons do whatever they want. Let's see, if I had this lined up right, this would be C-3PO here. This should be a stormtrooper. Nope, see, it did the flyby. Let's try it again. Now it did the stun sound. There's the stormtrooper. This is supposed to be a stun sound. It did a blaster. Now it's the stun sound. That did C-3PO, which is supposed to be over here. It's supposed to be a laser blast. It did the flyby. See, when it comes to this system, it's not perfect, and it never was perfect, even out of the box. And so the best you can hope for with this is that you have a clean setup that has minimal wear, which this is about as mint as they get, and that the sounds actually work when you press the buttons. And I'm going to call this a success and move on to the last bit of our challenge, which is getting these stickers to lay down. But first, I'm going to put this vehicle back together. So the first step is to get this module back in place. We have our switch wall, which goes into, it forms the rear wall of the storage compartment at the back. That's going to be facing this way. The first thing we want to do is hook up the red and the blue wire. Now, if you remember from our orientation, the red wire is going to go on the topmost one or leftmost one you're facing, and then the blue wire will go on the right side or bottom. So we're going to bring this in. The buttons go up through these holes. So you see these red buttons? They're going to go up through the corresponding holes. You want to be careful around these wires because they have transistors attached to them, or some sort of little, I think they're called transistors. These little bridges right here. You don't want to break those connections. Alright, so the red wire is going to go over this connection. Alright, there's our red wire. And then our blue wire. First I'm going to set this into place. Alright, that's now gently set into place. And now our blue wire goes in. This takes some fiddling, so be patient. Come on, you. There we go. Alright, so the red and blue wires are now on the battery plate, the battery connectors. Now we're going to put this switch wall back in with the switch facing the back, like so, with the switch facing the bottom of the vehicle, or oriented towards the bottom of the vehicle. Okay, so you've got two rails. Each side goes in either side of the rails. Like that. Alright, so now the wall is in place. The wiring is in place. Alright, so now when we go top side, we have 3 screws to hold the record unit onto the body of the vehicle. And you don't want to force these screws because you don't want to strip the plastic housing of the record player. So just go real slow, as Dan Aykroyd said in Sneakers. Don't over tighten. There is no reason to over tighten. The moment you feel it resist, the moment you feel it's at the end of its run, just stop. Alright, that's back in place, and we can test it once again with a C battery in the back compartment. Look at that. I went through a complete run of the correct sound effects. That is awesome. All right. So now we'll go ahead and put the bottom of the transporter back on. Let me grab it from over here. So here's the bottom. Remember, the way this works is it's keyed on the back tabs. So you sort of turn it 90 degrees-ish to the upper half, and then this tab right here has to go through this hole correctly on both sides. Okay, now that it's in, we're going to turn this 90 degrees. See how we're going to turn it upwards 90 degrees so that it becomes flush with the bottom of the transport. Oh, wait, one didn't go through. That one slipped out. There we go. Okay, so now this goes down. All right, that's in place. I want to snap. I don't mean snap as in break. I mean click these tabs in. Okay, that's seated. All right, these tabs are going to snap in. That's one. That's two. You can hear it click. Make sure that the body panels on the bottom, these little raised areas, grab around the lip of the gray upper fuselage or upper body. Okay, that's clipped in, that's clipped in, that's clipped in. I'm going to close this storage compartment to give it extra stability. All right, so the next step is to put the figure compartments back on. All right, these figure compartments work like this. You have a snap bottom and you have these teeth at the top. The teeth slot into corresponding holes in the side, and then you sort of gently push downward, lining everything up. And there you have it. That's it. It's as simple as that. So we're going to do that 3 or 4 more times. That's 2.
It's the Star Wars Imperial Troop Transporter that you put together. Batteries not included. Stormtroopers sold separately.
Did he say that?
Oh, Dad.
All right. Now, we're going to take the 3 underbody screws and put them back in. So you have 2 down here and 1 right here. Again, same rules apply. Try and hand fit them first. Don't over tighten them. Now we got to work on these doors. As you can see, the stickers on these doors are coming away, and these are the original stickers, and Tom wanted me to lay those down before I sent it back, which is a good idea, but the trick is I don't want to try and pull them off and reset them because they're already 75%, 80% stuck on there, and I don't want to run the risk of ripping them, taking them off. But I can't just spray down the transporter with adhesive and then set everything back on because it's going to get glue everywhere. So I have to come up with something different. I don't want to use a glue stick because I've never had good results with that. And plus you have to drag the glue stick across the sticker, which could result in ripping. I've had good results with spray adhesive, so I'd like to do something there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a container, a little disposable Tupperware container, and I'm going to take my spray adhesive. I recommend 3M. This is Elmer's. It's all really the same product, but if you want what a lot of people use, you get 3M. And I'm going to spray into this container until I get a nice pool of glue going on. And then I'm going to use this bristle brush, this paint brush, to just take a little bit of it, and then I'm going to gently coat the sticker and then lay it down. The reason that I'm using this and not a cotton swab, I would not recommend using a cotton swab when it comes to adhesive glues, because when you put the cotton swab in the glue and then you try and drag it across the surface, a lot of the cotton will come away onto your item because the cotton swab will pull away from the actual handle of the Q-tip because it's not really on there very well. So I would recommend a hairbrush like this, meaning a brush of synthetic hair, not a hairbrush for your hair. You know what I mean. All right. So I'm going to do the spray glue thing here real quick, and hopefully we'll get this thing back to Tom. All right, you want to spray your glue in a well-ventilated area. I went out to the garage to do mine. I sprayed it into a pool, kind of, liquid. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just the tip of this brush. I'm not going to use much because I don't need much. I'm just going to take the tip of this brush. I'm going to, and very gently, not getting up next to the body of this vehicle.
Happy little tree.
Okay, let's see if that lays it down. Look at that. Always lay it down from the back forward. Because if you start here when you lay it down, you might get a bump, and then you'll never be able to get that bump out. If you think you have too much on your brush, you probably do. So just rub it slightly on the edge of your container. All right, let's see if it worked. All right, that looks good. We have no excess to worry about. The electronics of Tom's Imperial Troop Transporter are back from the dead. Well, they never really were dead, actually. This was a very mint example of the vehicle. It'd just been so long since the vehicle had been played with that the motor just seized up and wasn't running. And in this case, we really didn't want to break into the sound box any more than we had to get to that motor spindle, because there's that rubber band. And you don't want to reset those rubber bands if you can avoid it, because they're 40 years old, and if it snaps, you're going to have a hard time finding something that's going to fit that bill, that's that exact diameter. So I'm glad we were able to avoid that with just some thinking and walking away from it. And that's one of the most important things when you're talking about toy restorations. If you're getting to a point where you're getting frustrated or you're stymied or you just don't have the solution, you need to walk away. Don't keep working on it. Walk away for a few hours, sleep on it like I did, come back, look at it again, think about it. Don't pick up a tool. Sometimes just staring at it for a while helps. And that's what we did with this, because this is a very important vehicle for Tom. Despite being the founder of iGrewUpStarWars.com, Tom didn't have a lot of vehicles growing up when he was a kid. He had a lot of the figures, but he actually didn't have a lot of the vehicles. But this was one of the ones he had when he was a kid. This isn't the actual one he had when he was a kid, but he wanted a mint example of his favorite vehicle from when he was a child playing with Kenner Star Wars. So we're really happy that we were able to work on this for Tom, and we're going to send it back to you. And Tom, enjoy it, put it in one of those awesome display cases you have, and send us a picture. So I hope you've enjoyed this restoration, and we will see you on the next one.